Welcome back to the Better Learning Podcast. We are continuing our conversations at EDspaces in Columbus, Ohio. We hope you're enjoying this series, and let's dive back in. We are back with our EDspaces podcast here at the conference in Columbus, Ohio. We've got our next guest here on Thursday, and I'm going to have him just give a little intro to him, where he's at, and maybe just like what's been the most fun thing that you've done in Columbus so far this week.
Excellent. Well, thanks for having me. Patrick Smith, I'm a proud principal of Aspen Ridge Elementary School. It opens in the fall of 2026. So we're in the middle of the construction phase. Spent the last few years in the whole design process, and it's exciting to see it starting to go up and see a physical building. And so really working a lot on kind of the planning of hiring and getting ready for the opening day.
That's awesome. Yeah. And you said new building. So I got to ask, is this like just a new extension of the district, or is this kind of like, just repurposing? You had your existing building and building a new building. What's that kind of look like in your district?
It's a brand new building, west side of our district. The growth is sprawling towards the west. And so we have some buildings that are pretty tight that need some relief. And so it became a time that we went out for a bond levy and our community passed it. And so now we're able to accommodate for the growth that's happening on the west side of our district.
That's amazing. That's amazing. How long have you been with the district? And
this is my 18th year as a principal.
Oh, wow.
I spent some time in Robbinsdale School District in Minnesota as a third and fourth grade teacher, assistant principal. But now I've been with Osseo School District for the last 14 years now.
Okay.
As a principal.
That's awesome. Did you see yourself getting into school leadership as your
Not at first. When my principal back in the day approached me about leadership, I thought he was crazy. I did not want to leave the classroom. When you're passionate about, student achievement and having an impact on students' lives, you don't ever want to leave the classroom. And so he convinced me to get out for a little bit and do some kind of instructional assistant pieces. And I found out real quickly that I no longer have a classroom of 30 kids. I have a classroom of 600. And that really kind of set the trajectory for me moving forward.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Were you a coach? I'm curious.
I did. Yeah, I grew up a wrestler. I wrestled since I was 5. I wrestled through college, played soccer. So I coached wrestling and soccer at the high school level. And as soon as I became a principal, though, those coaching days were done. My coaching is now in schools.
Yeah. That's really awesome. Fun fact, what's been fun here in Columbus so far?
Oh, gosh. I sent an email to my boss. I said, it's very dangerous sending me to conferences because the ideas that I get are pretty crazy. I just get really excited about the opportunity and the potential that we can provide our kids. And it started day one, 8 o'clock in the morning, first session, when the comment was, when students get on a bus and they head to the Science Museum, they're full of excitement and energy, and they can't wait to get off the bus. They can't wait to go into the museum and just explore, get hands-on, learn. Why can't we do that for our schools? And that's the question that's been resonating in my head this whole entire time, thinking about the different furniture and different opportunities that we can create in a school. And when I'm building a school, how can I incorporate that in from day one? And so that's been kind of the key of the whole conference for me, is looking for those ideas. And so I just sent in an email this morning to the powers that be and say, hey, since we're in the middle of the construction phase, why can't we do X, Y, and Z to create learning spaces throughout our school?
Yeah.
And so that's really been kind of the highlight of this conference.
Yeah. Well, I'm super excited because we're going to dive into it with just how you're kind of getting perspectives from your community. So I'm excited to dig in there. But I'm also kind of curious, like you mentioned you're here to kind of get ideas, things like that. Whereabouts are you at in your process of the new building?
It is, they're just about ready to close it all up so that they can work all inside during the wintertime.
Okay.
So when you drive by it, it looks like a good physical building. The brick is going up. A lot of the exterior work is finishing up. So it's really exciting to go on a Sunday when nobody's around and just walk the building and just envision what the spaces can do and will do. And so really the biggest thing that I'm doing right now is starting the whole interview process for a core planning team that will then come and will start visioning and taking all my thoughts and ideas and thinking and working with the team to really build our mission and vision for the school. And then we'll move into staffing the rest of the building later on in the process. And so really between now and February, it's a lot of staffing. And then I'll start meeting with the core planning team after the new year, and we'll start figuring out exactly our priority list of what we need to get done before the opening day.
Yeah. When's opening day?
It's fall of 2026.
Fall of 26.
Yep.
Awesome. Yeah, man. We got a lot to A lot to cover. So I guess the first question that we're asking all of our guests is radically student-centered. It's the overall theme here at the conference, and we're trying to just kind of get a baseline of where everybody's at with that phrase, where that kind of lands, what kind of resonates, and where your kind of mind goes with that. So I want to hear from you. What does radically student-centered mean to you when you hear that phrase?
We talk a lot about student-centered and how we make decisions for what's best for kids. And when you throw radically in there, to me, that is saying we have to be intentional about it. We can't just keep talking about it. We can't keep doing the things we've always done because we always will get the same results. And so when you're radical about it, you're really using your imagination to do things differently for students. And so when I think of that and I think about a whole brand new building and the opportunities we have, because the way it is designed isn't your traditional brick and mortar, down the hallway, corridor classrooms. It's open, it's studio style learning. It's a different way of doing things for students. And to me, it's a radical difference because we're putting students at the center and we're allowing them to be the architects of their own learning through the spaces that we're providing. And so it's going to come with a lot of staff training because we have to do things differently when we're providing a space like that for students to amplify their genius. That's really what we're trying to do is every student has genius. So how do we amplify that with the spaces that we provide for them for their learning? So to me, that's radically student-centered when we're designing, implementing, and facilitating a space for students to share their genius with us.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. So you kind of dug in a little bit, gave us a little insight to the project you're working on. We always like to tie back in the radically student-centered mindset into your work. So we had a wheel at Learningscapes. I know you said you're familiar. It was out in Phoenix this year. We had this big wheel where you spun it and you landed on a question. It was random how you landed on it, but it was tough this year because there were back-to-back weeks. It's never been like that where the conferences are back-to-back. So we had a hard time getting our wheel back here in time. But I had the prompts and we're kind of letting people kind of pick where they kind of go with it. And you picked the question, how do you ensure all voices, students, staff, families, and community are all heard and valued during the early stages of a project? I want to hear from you. You've kind of gone through this project. You're kind of in the midst of it right now. That feedback component, I want to kind of hear how you've kind of approached that throughout this journey.
So I would say this journey really started 10 years ago. And so I was part of a task force for our district. Our district, Osceola School District, is really, it's really important for us to have community, staff, student voice in all that we do. And so 10 years ago when we came together, we were talking about what are the needs and the wants for the district, looking out 10, 15 years from now. And that's the first time that a new school was mentioned, knowing that the growth is continuing. And so from that moment on, that task force had staff, had parents of the community, had district staff, and even students on that committee to start talking about that. That became kind of the model for how we approached, back up 2 years from now when we started talking about the design of this new building and what we wanted and needed for the space. We had a couple student representatives on that committee. We had classroom teachers at all levels, whether you're a PHYD teacher, a music teacher, classroom teacher, a custodian. We had a variety of voices from the district level on that committee, as well as parents. There are, I believe, 4 different parents on that particular committee to start designing what we want in this building.
Yeah. How did you kind of bring that committee together? Were they handpicked? Were they like volunteers? How were they?
Really volunteer based.
Okay.
Our district does a really nice job of sending out communication to our community saying, here is the plan, here's the vision, we need your voice, we need all perspectives. And then people volunteer to say, I'd love to be part of that.
Yeah. And it's probably, I'm sure you guys had a lot of feedback from that. It's crazy. I mean, when you open that up, I mean, everybody wants their voice to be heard. Everybody's got ideas to share. And it's always obviously awesome when nobody's siloed in this process. We're, getting ideas from all over. So that's really awesome. I love to hear that. I guess from here now, looking at this, you're going through the design phase. As you're going through this, you always want to keep a mindset of like, how can we make sure that this building is going to be supportive of students, staff, all of that, not just, next year. How are we looking out 50 years from now? I guess, how have you guys kind of kept that approach and mindset, as you're going through this process too?
So a couple of things. First thing, as we're going through the process now, it's all about how to involve students in the design process, in the planning of the actual functioning of the building and the curriculum that we are using and the use of the space. I am in the process of, even though I don't have a student body yet, I know which students are coming to me. So it's essentially coming from one school. I'm getting most of my students plus growth. And so I've already planted the seed with the students of I am, number one, building a student leadership ambassador team. And when we start coming together this year before this current school year ends, it'll be the task of the student leaders to really drive the opening of the school at a student perspective. And they'll be the ones that will be given the tours and being able to talk about this is a studio environment. What does that mean for them? And what does it mean for the future of the school? And so our district as a whole, through what we call the Building a Better Future process, it's not just the new elementary school. It's every school in our district that's getting touched over the next 3 years of creating learning spaces that are more collaborative spaces, student-centered spaces, and taking a lot of our traditional schools and providing spaces for them to get outside those bricked four walls and really collaborate and work together and have a voice in the process as well. So that's been really kind of the overarching process as a district of expanding so that every student, the 21,000 students in our district, has a voice and is impacted by the changes in what we know is best for kids. We can't keep doing what we've always been doing. So let's create spaces where students can be very collaborative and supportive of their own learning.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm kind of curious because you mentioned it there. You mentioned there's a couple of different projects going on in the district. Are you guys the first ones here?
So there's a lot.
Yeah.
So through, thankfully we have a very supportive community.
Okay.
And the passing of our bond levy ensured that every single school, 17 elementaries, 4 high schools, 3 comprehensive high school and an alternative school, and 4 middle schools, every single school is touched through this 3 to 4 year process. So to say that there's a few projects going on in our district is an understatement. And I know our engineers and our custodial and our directors would say that it's been a busy few years.
Yeah.
And so we'll open the new school next year. Next phase will finish out after next year. Every school will have been touched.
That's amazing. And the only reason why I ask is I'm just kind of curious, like when you're going through this, like as a principal at your school, how are you guys kind of not only getting these voices that we talked about earlier, the students, staff, families, and community, how are you also collaborating with your other schools in the district to making sure that all the schools kind of speak as far as the way you're kind of designing so that they all have some cohesion there?
Yeah, there's a lot of district standards. So I was part of, back when I was an assistant superintendent for a couple of years as an interim deal, we started the phase of bringing in community, bringing in staff to do tours of the schools and to really create that district standard. So if you are a student at an East Side school or a Central school or West Side school, you're getting the same learning experience. You're getting the same curriculum. You're getting the same opportunities for collab spaces and interaction with each other and student voice. We want the lived experience, no matter where you are in the district, to be the same. With unique, obviously, every school has their unique pieces that defines them as a school. And so there's different opportunities, different experiences that students get. But overall, the furniture standard, there is a standard. And then knowing that every school is going to get a media center that's revamped and revived, essentially, so that when you go, it's a continuous process throughout the entire district that every school is going through. And then our district does a really nice job at going to each school and creating teacher and admin teams to say, all right, you're up. This is your space. Let's start talking about how that's going to look and what's going to be best for kids in your building, because out of all the buildings we have, they're not all the same footprint. So that means different things for different spaces. And so the ability to bring everybody together and have a process that you go through the year prior to is where all that voice comes in.
Well, that's amazing. Patrick, I think you really hit on everything that I wanted to discuss with you. Is there anything that you wanted to mention here on the podcast today as well?
I just appreciate the opportunity. I could talk about this stuff all day long. I have a passion I love what I do. Right. And I'm super honored and excited to be able to open a new building, bring in a whole new staff that has a shared mindset of what students need in this space. And then bringing on the students. I can't wait to fill it with students. And so the opportunity to sit here and talk about it only just gets me more excited.
Yeah. Well, for the listeners, Osseo area schools, Maple Grove, Minnesota, we'll kind of put that link in the show notes too for you all to kind of just kind of have that awareness and kind of follow along in this journey with Patrick and his team as well. So We're just super appreciative to have you on, and enjoy the rest of your time in Columbus.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us for this special EdSpaces edition of the Better Learning Podcast. We hope today's conversation sparked new ideas and reminded you just how powerful student-centered learning environments can be. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow the podcast and share it with someone who's passionate about improving education. And as always, keep pushing forward, keep rethinking what's possible, and keep making learning better, one space at a time. We'll see you in the next episode.